If you're one of those people that wonder about the meaning of life, the meaning of your life, and why we're all here, and you're a seeker like me, this episode's for you. Thanks for tuning in. Hello, and welcome to the Constance Messmer Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Professor Jay Holstein was one of my most favorite instructors at the University of Iowa. He taught a class called Quest for Human Destiny. And part of the curriculum was that we were to read literary works that helped illustrate different perspectives on the meaning of life. He had the most fabulous stories and kept ripples of laughter going throughout the auditorium that was always packed each time he taught the course. He was at the University of Iowa for years and years, and his fame grew throughout the students. I was really glad to be a part of the experience with the others. Jay Holstein would teach with illustrative stories and leave us contemplating and considering more, not only with the author's perspective, but what our own perspective might be. It was one of those classes that you take with you for life. And I want to share some of the experiences for your own benefit. One of the authors that we read was Ernest Hemingway. He's definitely got a very interesting take on life. You could see the thread through his own stories, right? And Hemingway was definitely manly in many ways, and also wondering about his masculinity in others. If you read the books, you'll know what I'm talking about. One day, Professor Holstein walked into the auditorium, put his bags down, and approached the podium and the microphone and looked at us all, scanning the audience. And he said, "Did I ever tell you the Playboy story?" We were like, "No." All of us 20-something-year-olds were like, "What? What?" And he looked around through all the sections of the auditorium, people sitting on the main level and up in the balcony, and said, "Nah, you're too young." We were like, "What?" We were devastated. We were like, "What are you even talking about? Tell us, tell us." And after we calmed down, he was like, no, I'm not going to tell you. And he began with the lesson that he had prepared. It was the best opener ever. I was like, oh my God. In that whole sea of students, there was one other gal that I knew from my dormitory. I was an RA in the dorms, and an RA is a resident assistant. So you help the residents, you assist the residents. And she and I were chatting one day about that experience as the semester came to a close, and we thought, you know what, we have to get him to tell us this story. So because I was a resident assistant, I had access to these giant rolls of butcher paper. So she and I took one of the rolls of butcher paper and spread a whole sheet down the hallway, and we grabbed our markers and we made a sign, a huge sign that said, "Be a man, Tarzan. Hemingway won't rest until you tell us the Playboy story." It was in great letters. It was huge. It was great. And we went early to class the next day and hung the sign so that when he walked in to the podium, put his bag down, and looked up, there it was hanging from the upper balcony. He laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed. And he goes, nah. We were just, again, devastated. We were like, what? Oh my God. It was so funny. So he never told us the Playboy story. Fast forward just several years back during COVID, Professor Jay Holstein was retiring, and I had to reach out to him to thank him on the phone for all that he gifted me with. And to remind him, actually, I had seen him a couple years after I took his class on the jogging track at the rec center. And I said how much I enjoyed his class then. And he said, "I'll write you a letter of recommendation if you want to go to grad school." And I was like, I should have taken it, even though I didn't go to grad school, but it would have been cool. So when I called him on the phone, he was devastated and downtrodden. And I was like, what's going on, Jay? He said, this during COVID on Zoom and remote learning has been the hardest thing for me yet. It's been quite difficult. And I asked him why. And he said it was because there was no connection to the students. You see, he was fueled by the connection and the laughter and the getting the jokes. And it was an interaction. This rapport had served him, the rapport had served him, and it had served the rest of us as students. And with the Zoom classes, it was gone. Students didn't show up. He didn't feel the vibe of the people. There was no packed auditorium. There were just faces in boxes on the screen. I felt sad for him, but I got it. I got that part of his joy was feeding off the energy of us as students. There was this giving and receiving that occurred in the beautiful relationship, if you will. The connections, the ripple of laughter served all of us. It served all of us, and it kept us coming back for more, right? I didn't miss a lecture at all. I don't think any of us did. It didn't matter if we really got the content. It was him we were coming to listen to and experience because of his perspective of looking at the illustrative stories and the meaning of life brought by the other authors on their quest for human destiny, too. Some Dogs Talk teaches animal communication among the pages of fiction, but the experiences within are based on my own life. To get your copy, visit my shop or go to constancemessmer.com. I get his story, Jay Holstein's story. I feel that way too. It can be very difficult for me to do these recordings for you. And although the lives that I've done and will do in the future offer some kind of connection, and your comments in the threads and your emails back help me know that you're there and you're listening and you're applying what I'm teaching, there's a real desire for me to meet you in person. So in the year ahead, I am putting and planting seeds so that I can come out and meet you in person, because I know we'll have ripples of laughter from all of us and spirit, gifting the conversational tone, and we'll feel the connection. I am eager for that. I'm eager for the visceral sense of connecting like that with you. And I wanted you to be, some of the first to know that I am planning going on the road and teaching in workshop spaces and speaking. And so if you're in an area that has a space, where's your nearest biggest city? I'd love to put you on my list and come meet you in person. The cool thing in that relationship with Jay Holstein, from us as students to him as an instructor, guiding us on our own quest for human destiny by looking at the philosophies of other literary giants, was the incredible connection. And not only the incredible connection, but also how charged he made us feel about the material, about our connection to him, right? And about his work as a professor. He really had his calling down, right? I also know he was a rabbi, but just the fact that he taught in this form was incredibly helpful to anyone that was exposed to his teachings. And he was charged, and he brought that energy to explore and consider to each of us, inspiring us on our own quest for our destiny. I think most of us are seekers on a quest for our own destiny. I've created Your Life Calling, a meditation that you can purchase, that I did offer initially to my newsletter subscribers before I put it as a offering for sale, a meditation for sale. I hope these will help you in some way to co-create the life you want and create the destiny that you desire. Mostly, I wish for you joy and connection, like Jay Holstein brought to us. I think there's a lot of different perspectives on this quest for human destiny. Why are you here? Why are we all here? What's it all about? But I do know these two things from all my years of working with students and clients in my own meditation time and Jay Holstein's class, Quest for Human Destiny. I think it's about connection and joy and laughter. And when those are in alignment, things are going pretty smoothly. Thanks for tuning in.